Make some money at Homestead-Miami Speedway with our best bets for the 2025 Straight Talk Wireless 400 and a full weekend of NASCAR racing. All this and more. It's a brand new episode of The Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks, and with me is Seth Woolcock. How you doing tonight, Seth?
Elliot, great to be here with you once again as 99.99% of the sports gambling world turns their attention to college basketball for a fleeting moment. We stay in our lane tonight.
One shining moment, you might say.
Yes, one shining moment. We stay in our lane with some motorsports betting. So happy to be back with you. And Homestead, what a treat, man. This is a track we usually get in the fall. We actually just saw it, really a couple months ago back in, I believe that was late October. So great to kind of have that fresh on the mind as well. And a big matchup week for us. So I am absolutely psyched to get into it, man.
No doubt about it. Tonight's show, of course, we'll go in the rear view, look back at how things went at Las Vegas, give you the news of the week, then break down Homestead and the Horizon forecast, and then end it all with the parking garage props with our best bets for all three series, another triple header weekend, which is always a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, I know a place we can have a lot of fun. It's called the IBT Racing Family. It's our exclusive Discord chat that gives you access to our weekly betting model, gives you access to a Discord chat, of course, with myself, Rod, Seth, Ryan from My Fantasy Race, and the rest of our IBT Racing family. That's also how you get access to our memorabilia giveaways. We had the Ross Chastain helmet bounce around a little bit, Joey Logano signed polo coming up, some Michael McDowell merch, and others throughout the season. It's just $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. Shout out to all of our new members we've got lately. They've been a really great addition to the party over there.
Dude, it's always bumping over there, man. And a lot of new faces in there the last couple weeks, and appreciate everyone's been hanging out. We got a couple people out there too who've signed up on the website, but they haven't joined the Discord yet, which we appreciate if you just wanted for the model, but come out, hang out with us in the Discord as well if you're already in it. And Elliot, talk about dedication to this program. Our dude Marcus in here a whole 12 hours before we go live, 8:58 a.m., baby. Marcus woke up thinking it's Thursday, it's Backroad day, baby. Let's go. He's asking who everyone's pick is for Homestead. Well, Marcus, me and you might be on the same man this week, brother. We might be on the same man. Also, Stan in here at 1 o'clock this afternoon as well, Elliot. So he was ready to go, saying he's really feeling Denny steps up, gets the job done this Sunday. He's placed a small bet at 13-1. So, and here's Kush, 455, William Byron. So it's almost become a race, Elliot, to get your picks into the chat, which I appreciate. Marcus setting the pace there, though.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it, though, is that if you want our opinion any time of the day, you can get it in that Discord. We saw some guys asking us for some opinions before the show here. We're in there. If you need us anytime other than Thursday at 8 o'clock, obviously a real good place to reach us. BS about the race a little bit and throw our betting cards in there along with some extras that we see throughout the weekend, because obviously a lot changes from the time we end the show Thursday to the green flag of the cup race on Sunday. You got the practice and qualifying and other changes, and hopefully we have racing this week. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, man. And I love Sunday night too, because we're all half celebrating, but at the same time, we're all well, got screwed over here. We can all kind of almost commiserate together. I appreciate it's almost like a stomping grounds for bitching at the gambling god. So I appreciate that. Appreciate Nick hanging out with us. What's up, Nick? Good to see you, man. Saying what up. We got Wyatt saying, what up, boys? What's up, Wyatt? Good to see you, man. We got Jamie Vroom. If you ain't first, you're last. Damn right, Jamie. Absolutely. NCAA tournament. What's that? Elliot, I don't know. I actually did not place any bets on the tournament. I didn't even fill out a bracket until about 10 this morning. I was sitting in the doctor's office waiting room, and it was taking a while, so I downloaded the ESPN app and fired one out. But kind of flushed $25 down the drain for a pull for that. So got to go out and win it back, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, what's that? And hey, don't forget, if the Discord's a little much for you at the moment, just give us a like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. Share our content to those who might like it, and we can grow the family, whether in the Discord, through the YouTube, any way you want it. That's the way we'll take it.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're working on some events for you guys this summer too. We got a fantasy football event we do every year. We also have a golf scramble we're doing in Canton, Ohio. We're working on a NASCAR specific one too, kind of up to something season in that area. So we'll have more details for you on that soon. But until then, Elliot, we got a race to recap, some news to get into, and also a race to preview and some picks to give out tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, you're getting me excited for Pocono, but that's a ways down the road. We got to start by looking back in the rear view at Las Vegas. Some great racing this weekend as all three of the top three series were in Vegas. In the Truck Series, had to battle with a little bit of rain. We got some late night trucking, but the clock still set to Heim time as Corey Heim takes the win. In Xfinity, Justin Allgaier gets some immediate comeuppance for the mess.
Yeah.
He dominates and doesn't have the bad luck strike, though. Almirola came close, and I thought for a minute we might be cashing our Zilich generational bet before St. Patrick's Day. But he faded and got a speeding penalty as well. And in the Cup Series, what a great race, great strategy, and a heck of a race for the finish as Josh Berry holds off Daniel Suarez to get the Wood Brothers' 101st win and Josh Berry's first career Cup Series win. Exciting weekend all around.
Elliot, I love Vegas, man. As this track ages, it just gets better and better every single time we go there. Nothing short of spectacular there this past weekend. And, kind of bittersweet for me because I hit the outright on Friday night with Corey Heim. I hit the outright on Saturday with Justin Allgaier. I'm looking like I'm cruising probably a, plus 10 unit weekend, even without hitting the outright in Cup. And then at the end of the day, my big gainer, Noah Gragson, who looked great all day, top 10 car. I just need him top 20. 10 unit swing at the end there. He gets into the wall. He kind of fades at the end. So still a great weekend. I feel like for us all from a betting perspective, I had a lot of bets on my card hit, and I think you did as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. My first week of 2025 being in the green, so that's certainly a big plus. In the Cup Series, I at least had the Josh Berry top 10. I didn't get on the outrights with the live outrights.
You were a week early. I
was. Yep. In my article, I put Josh Berry at Phoenix as a potential long shot outright. Ended up fourth there and taking the win at Vegas. Also, Fade and Ty Gibbs continue to be the right decision. Austin Cindric over Ty Gibbs and the Ford outright too. We were talking before the show. Anytime those manufacturer outrights start to creep up above like 4-1, 5-1, we got to take a take a look at those and make sure.
It's creeping this week right again. It's creeping right again for you. So
it is. It's not on my card, but we might talk about some manufacturer outrights too. Xfinity, we did a little bit of a squad ride on the Harrison Burton top 10. I ended up getting a little bit better odds than you, which was kind of fun.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
It says you had 3-1. I got it at 4-1 right before the race.
Wow.
Okay. I mistyped in the Discord. I typoed that it was 9-1. It was not quite that long. It was just 4-1. But
hey, well, that's all right with me. Any other bets that you had on your card that came through for us?
Yeah, F1 also. Lance Stroll top 6. Well, the only one of the three.
Dude, what a gainer! What
a week.
Shout out to our producer in the back end, Nicolette. She texted me Sunday morning, said, "How about that Stroll bet?" Like
Stroll top 6.
Yeah, it was a good one, and like I felt like Elliot, like I've tried to bet Lance Stroll before, and I felt like that was a rookie F1 bet to make, and I thought about doing it last week, and then you threw out the right number with the top 6, which was ballsier than like almost the even money top 10. So hey, congrats to you on that one, man.
Hey, it worked out, but it certainly was a wild race. I threw a bunch of other bets in the Discord as well. Some of them didn't work out, but the F1 markets are crazy. The other F1 bet that I hit was that Oscar Piastri would be third or worse at the end of the first lap. Imagine that. Imagine if NASCAR paid out based on finishing position at the end of lap 1. That would certainly make things a little easier, make our winnings a little heavier probably.
Yeah, absolutely. On my card, as mentioned, I had the Heim outright, had the Gator outright. Also had Gator over Almirola, which I usually hate, like taking two front runners in a matchup, Elliot. But
Mhm.
that was like I didn't think Almirola was going to be that good again because his stats traditionally on Vegas, especially in the Xfinity series, nothing to write home about. But it feels like every time he's in this car now, like you have to bet him, right? Like I almost went against our cardinal sin, like betting against our betting MVP last year and Eric Almirola, who made us so much money. So shout out to, like, that was a fun race, dude. You had only like 8 cars on the lead lap. Like I love that shit. That's like old school type of Cup Series stuff in the Xfinity series that we got. And then hit Daniel Suarez top 10. I should have apparently bet a top 3 on him. Plus 350 felt like way too long of a number for Daniel Suarez. That felt great. And Alex Bowman, dude, no one comes back from more adversity than your boy Alex Bowman, Elliot. I mean, this guy, I'm pretty sure he got 2 different penalties, had to go back down pit road. 3.5 units I threw out on that top 10 plus 105 at Bet Rivers, and we cashed it thanks to that resilient team.
Yeah, another complete mess of a day. Had a loose wheel after P2 in stage 1. Gets caught at the back of the field for that. And then where he was already at the back, had a speeding penalty. It didn't matter much, and then was able to work his way back to the front on some of that late race strategy. And that's happened multiple times. Bowman's another one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of us have him on our card this week, at least in the show. But just one of those guys you can't ignore at those numbers, which are still plus money for top 10s, even if it's even money this week, if I recall correctly. Just bonkers numbers, in my opinion.
Yeah. What did you think about the race itself, man? Because honestly, like until towards the end of that race, I thought there were too many cautions. You know, I was like, man, this is kind of becoming a caution fest. Like it's hard to see what strategy is going to play out correctly. And it really came down to the strategy race that Josh Berry put himself towards the front. Joey Logano comes down pit road potentially to be on point, get another Joey Logano Las Vegas when I know you were back on him last week. You were hoping for it, and ends up having to take another trip back down pit road. Or was it an issue on his pit stop? Was it an issue? I think it was maybe a slow pit stop.
So what happened? He came in as the leader at the money stop, and because the pit boxes are so tight, there were so many cars that were on the lead lap because of those cautions. So many different strategies playing out. You got to position yourself in your pit box the right way to be able to have a clean entry and then a clean exit, which is more important. You gotta factor in this guy's running X number of positions behind. He is going to be coming in and blocking us, so we got to kind of position it right. He put himself too far in and too far at an angle inside the stall to where he kind of pinned himself in, had to back up to get out of the stall. Went, I think, from P1 to 20th, I think.
Yeah.
On that last restart really took him out. Issues on pit road for a lot of guys. Carson Hocevar was on his way to potentially a top 10, or at least a good finish. Takes 2 tires. He comes out right as Ty Gibbs comes in. They hit each other, and it messed up both of their days. Not that Ty Gibbs was going very well, but didn't help either of them.
Same thing, Kyle Busch, right? Not same thing, but Kyle Busch loses a wheel. That's going to be a big penalty. And shout out to Adam Stevens, the crew chief for Christopher Bell, dude. Like the heads up play, they had a loose wheel. They're going down pit road. Adam Stevens says, hey, pit in someone's box. He finds Chase Briscoe, his teammate's box. They service his car. They're able to just tighten that wheel up. I mean, they're still getting a penalty, but they saved themselves 2 laps. We're still able to battle back to, I think, a P12 finish. And at the same time, like they saved suspensions for their guys and just very, very severe penalties that come with that.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation about this week. Just this afternoon, NASCAR issued a clarification on that rule, basically saying that you can't pit in another team's stall for adjustments, but only for a safety issue. So the wording that they had, as we move into the fast lap news here, if a vehicle receives service in another team's pit stall to correct a safety issue, the vehicle will receive a flag status penalty, which is usually the restart of the tail end of the field or the pass-through, same as you would get for speeding or something like that. But again, far less harsh than the wheel coming off, being held for 2 laps, suspensions and all that. Then you would get the penalty for pitting outside of the pit box. So then the same sort of penalty you would also have if your front end was sticking a little bit out or something like that. Examples of a safety issue that they provided were to tighten loose lug nuts, remove a fuel can, remove a wedge wrench, remove the jack from under the vehicle. So that's also some other penalties you can have for removing equipment outside the box. If the fuel can is stuck and it manages to stick until you get to the point, you'll still get that penalty. But so I guess in that case, it wouldn't make as much of a difference. It's mainly for that harsh losing the wheel penalty, whether it happens under caution, you can kind of recover, or under green, like we saw with Kyle Busch, totally ruin your day, as well as have the lapse penalty and the suspensions. If a vehicle receives service in another team's pit stall for competition adjustments, the vehicle may receive a lapse penalty. So only to fix a safety issue. You can't, oh, we forgot to make this wedge adjustment, or, oh, I don't think I want to do that. Let's have Briscoe's crew put a wedge wrench in the back of the 20 car just for a safety issue. And I like that. That's the perfect way to do it, I think. Teammates are such a big advantage, and maybe one of the single car teams could do this too, Cole Custer in a Roush box or something. But definitely important for the teams to all work together. Hey, I don't want the 20 car to lose a wheel. Let's go ahead and tighten it up for them and keep all of our team on the right track.
Agreed with you, 100%. Last thing just on Vegas real quick, because I think it's important that we touch on it. Josh Berry, what a story. I mean, Elliot, you and I, we come from a journalism background, and we root for stories more than anything. And there's not a better story in racing, I think, right now than Josh Berry. I mean, another guy who meets Dale Jr. online, right? Yeah. Comes down, is working on the late model himself, like gets the mechanical knowledge from Dale, from that entire junior motorsports organization, and then starts racing that car, makes his way up to Xfinity. Like, this is a true underdog story, older than most Cup Series. I don't want to say he's not a rookie at this point, but sophomores at this point. But what a hell of a story for Josh Berry, and he definitely raced Suarez there at the end, very competitively, and just shout out to him, dude. Just such a cool story.
No doubt, very competitively and very cleanly at the end as well too. One of those guys that his success is continuing to open doors for other guys. Your Bubba Pollard's getting Xfinity starts, Brendan Queen full-time in a good ARCA car this year. Just a great story, and happy. I know no one was happier than Dale Earnhardt Jr. With Barry getting that victory. Such an impressive weekend for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What other news items do we have here, Elliot?
Yeah, so this kind of ties into Vegas too. Denny Hamlin had a great weekend. He won about $300,000 on the slots, and he got a new half-season sponsor, Progressive Insurance, hopping on that 11 car. Certainly an impressive time for Denny Hamlin there. Weird to see Progressive blue instead of that FedEx purple, black, white, whatever color on that 11.
Looks good. And they also, like, I saw someone, I don't know who it is, so I can't give you credit, but someone on Twitter was like, hey, at least a sponsor knows how to use like the number in the right place. Like, I think just a really clean scheme. So yeah, hey, I knew Denny Hamlin would get some type of like pretty big sponsor, dude. Like, you would think, like, this guy's pretty marketable in my opinion.
Yeah, it would have been really weird to see one of the top drivers in the sport end up unsponsored for a long period of time, for sure. And this weekend, something to watch too. There's fires in the Homestead area that are only a couple of miles away from the track. That's something to watch for the weekend. It could throw off the schedule. They're like intermittently closing the road. It's U.S. State Route 1, I believe, that's in between the track there. Still having a little trouble containing the fire. They're adamant that the weekend will go on as scheduled, but that is just something to watch out for, that you could see some announcements tomorrow morning, afternoon, adjusting the race schedule, if not having to just move the whole weekend entirely.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to all the first responders down there taking care of business. We appreciate you trying to make that area safe for everyone who's down there for the race weekend. Appreciate NASCAR and the kind of their work they're doing throughout this as well, Elliot. But just one of those things, like, let's keep our heads on swivels, as fans, as gamblers, as if you're down in that area, of course, kind of stay on alert. But hopefully, we just, it's kind of like what my soccer coach used to tell me, Elliot, because we weren't a very good team. It was like, hope for the best, expect the worst, right? Like, that's kind of what you do out here. So we're gonna hope for the best and expect the worst.
Yeah, hopefully not another 2020 Texas situation because of rain and mist. What was originally supposed to be a Sunday race ended up running on a Wednesday night.
Oh my gosh,
wild one for sure.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Take that feels like a fever dream when you say it. Honestly,
it really was. I mean, that 2020 itself was a fever dream. But I just checked Bob Hawks' Twitter. Race weekend is still on. If I would want to break the news here, he retweeted something from Miami-Dade Fire Rescue that says it spans approximately 24,000 acres and they have 30% of it contained, which that was a larger number than I saw this morning. I think it said about 20% contained. So just something to watch out for. Again, like you said, thanks to all the first responders, and fingers crossed everything can proceed safely this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have one more special segment we kind of wanted to jump into before we start previewing this week's track.
Yep. So we are a few races in. We've had a few traditional races. It's not just wild cards and road courses and stuff. We wanted to talk about if it's time to hit the panic meter for some drivers that are quite low in the points. The first driver, Brad Keselowski, in the number 6, is P30 in the points as we sit right now. Hasn't come close to a win, obviously. Is it time to sound the panic meter on Brad Keselowski? Sound the siren.
on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 4 or 5 with Brad. Like some of it's just crashes falling into his laps. I feel like
Yeah.
especially at Atlanta, that was kind of the case. Phoenix, very, very similar as well. And like
Yep.
Coda, he honestly ran better than I projected him to finish. So I'm all right with that. Vegas is kind of like right where I thought we would you see him finish as well. So this is kind of who Brad was really the back half of the season. Like I didn't have Brad in my playoff projection, so I'm not really so surprised by the slow start. He definitely has to dig his way out of a hole, and now it's going to probably come down to a win. So like I'm where I was coming into this season, Elliot, on Brad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. My thought was maybe for Keselowski, like you said, he got top 15s at Vegas and Coda, crashed out, no fault of his own really at Atlanta and Phoenix. I think he and maybe Denny Hamlin too. I know he's not on the panic meter. He's run pretty well. Some of these older veterans, maybe they're starting to be out of their prime. Maybe they're starting to lose a step. We may have seen that the last few years with Keselowski. I think he's still a fringe playoff guy, though. You're right. I think it does probably come down to a win.
The cliff
rather
comes
than
quick.
pointing his
The
way
cliff
in.
comes quick, man. Like Kevin
It
Harvick,
does. Yep.
no wins in. I mean, he got snaked
That
in
was
Phoenix.
That was Stuart Haas, though. That
Yeah,
was the other big
but
problem with Harvick.
Martin Truex Jr. no wins in his last year. Like it happens.
Yeah.
The cliff does come for you quick. I'm hoping it's not here for our boy Bad Brad though. We need some American flags blasting down there on the front stretch when he wins.
Hey, maybe one more time. We'll see. Only got one win at Daytona. That's always a place where he does well.
Yeah.
Second driver, Noah Gragson, is P33 in the points in the front row, number 4. Almost running as if he wasn't that Stuart Haas number 4 with how bad those cars were at the end of the year. Time to sound the horn on Gragson.
I mean, this is tough, dude. This is tough because it's a very, very rocky start. This was kind of the time last year. He was starting to build momentum, had a great run at Vegas. Not so much this year. Like outside of that, top 10 run at Coda, he hasn't really done too much. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't like even last week at Elliott when we were gambling on him, like he was a guy running top 10 all day, really good, clean run, got into Blaney there. And then I don't know if that eventually hurt his car, but after that, like he kind of started tanking on one of those late runs there, ends up getting into the wall. So I don't know. I don't want to say I'm probably I'm probably 3 on Noah Gragson. I think he can still turn it around, but this was kind of always a guy who had to win to get in, right?
Yeah, I would say so in terms of the playoffs. In terms of sounding the panic siren, I'm a no on Noah Gragson. He's been if we were going to have an asterisk mark driver of the season so far, we have the asterisk mark driver of the week. I'm giving it to Gragson. That was the point I was trying to put together. He was running kind of all right at Atlanta and pretty well at both Phoenix and Vegas, and gets caught in incidents. We see that all the time. Guys either get caught in their own problems or other people's problems. Daytona 500, always a wild card. You can almost, this is a wild card, put it to the side. And had a great run at Coda, ran top 5, finished 8th. I think he's on par in terms of performance-wise. Obviously, the points aren't where they want to be. They were always going to be a fringe playoff. Probably have to win to make it in. High 20s in the points. That's still where I see Noah Gragson. I don't think it's time to panic yet.
Well, and he's the type of ballsy motherfucker that gets hot and he stays hot for a stretch, right? Like, and he can get hot at any time. Like, you're not going to see it coming. Just like last year, there's that stretch where I think it was 4 races. He had 3 top 10s. We're going to see that at some point. When he gets hot, we're going to ride it. But until then, you're going to kind of stay cold off on him from betting perspective. So Noah Gragson, I still not panicking yet, but I do not feel the same about this last driver we're going to speak on.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it definitely is time to hit the panic button for Ty Gibbs at 34th in the points. He's probably got the best car out of these 3 we talked about, but has been the worst this year. The team and the driver have both just looked completely out to lunch this year. It's not just that they're having those incidents. It's that they're consistently qualifying poorly. They're running poorly. They're not having any speed at all. Multiple races this year, this 54 is getting lapped or nearly getting lapped just on pure speed, which is not where you see Joe Gibbs Racing cars run. I think it could even be a greater issue of Joe Gibbs Racing outside of Bell kind of being mid at times this year. That's more of the put on the tinfoil hat theory that we don't have the time for right now. But it certainly is Ty Gibbs getting the worst of it. And I think it's definitely time to panic because we saw this at the end of last year. Didn't run well at all. Again, part incidents, part just not having the speed. Part of it is the team not having the speed. Maybe there's going to be a crew chief change there at some point. I think Joe will look to shake things up with this 54 team if this continues, and really he'll have to.
Ever since Ty Gibbs did that thing. I think it was at Sonoma. It was one of those road courses in the summer where he spins around in the Xfinity series, hits Chandler Smith. It's like he flipped a switch and just became a terrible driver. Like it feels like every time he's in the car, something crazy's happening. Very happy he's okay after what happened on dirt last week. He took a little bit of a tumble there. But Ellie, these are the finishes going back to last year in the fall. At Phoenix, championship race, crashes out, finishes 40th. Martinsville.
Lap one. Didn't even make it around the first lap.
Martinsville running 32nd. Homestead running 36. Las Vegas 30th running. Roval engine blown 35th. Talladega 13th. Kansas 5th. That was his last top 5. That was his last top 10 too. And before that, it was a pretty ugly stretch, leading back to Daytona. So this is one of those situations, man, where I don't know what to think because I feel a little conflicted, Elliot. I feel very conflicted because as a human being, like I'm rooting for Ty Gibbs because this is a guy who I think we all remember him losing his dad, very, very close to that Xfinity Series championship race. And, as someone who's gone through some shit in their life, man, like I have nothing but respect for people who can overcome adversity and make themselves better. But at the same time, too, like I don't think it's any secret that, from a media perspective that Ty Gibbs, seems like he doesn't give a shit sometimes when you're talking to him. You could go out there and ask other drivers questions and they'll give you the best answer they can. And sometimes it feels like Ty Gibbs just has to be there. And it's a tough situation, right? When you know you're not going to lose your ride. Dale Jr. talked about that on his podcast earlier this week. Like he felt that kind of at the end of his Hendrick tenure. So that is tough. But at the same time, like, would it not hurt for this guy maybe to go down to Xfinity for a year and just like start carving motherfuckers up again? Like I miss that Ty Gibbs. I miss the Ty Gibbs from early last season, Elliot, who we almost hit a 28-1 at the Busch Light Clash on him. Like I miss that Ty Gibbs. Where is that Ty Gibbs?
I think he doesn't know himself and probably he'll do his best to find it. One of those deals, the media thing you're talking about, as well as the performance. This is a really young kid. He's what? Is he even 21 yet? I mean, he's still so young. And this is the first time in his life where he hasn't gone out there and won everything and whooped everybody. It's the first challenge of adversity in terms of in the car that he's seen. And it'll be interesting to watch how it goes. Not losing your ride is definitely a big advantage. Forget the end of Junior's Hendrick career. 2009 and 2010, year 2 and 3 with Hendrick, he's in the mid-20s in the points. And Ty Gibbs right now, that's where he's looking like would be his upside if these runs continue. Yeah.
Like if I have to put it on the meter, I'd probably give it a 7. I'm
probably a little higher than that, just because it's not. I feel like it's not just the driver; it's just the car and the cars. There's something that's just not clicking with this 54 group.
New crew chief too, right? Like that doesn't help anything. But you got a guy like
they're probably still gelling a little bit, but.
You got a guy like Gabehart calling the shots, though. So it's like I believe in Chris Gabehart. If there's one guy I believe in, in that personnel like director level that I want calling the shots, it's Chris Gabehart. So if anyone can figure it out, it's him, and hopefully it can kind of trickle down to the crew chief and down to Ty as well. But hope only gets so far. Hope only gets so far, baby.
Yeah, poor Gabehart might have to get back on the pit box and on the road by the time we're there in Pocono. Things don't pick up, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you say, Elliot? Should we go ahead and turn the page here and start breaking down this track?
Yep, let's go ahead and crack open the horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Shout out to our guy Ray Dunlap. Hopefully some of that rain shows up down in Miami.
Yeah, need it.
The issues that we're having. This weekend, again, Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series all scheduled to run. In the Cup Series, the 36 chartered cars, as well as J.J. Yaley in the number 44 NY Racing team. Action starts on Friday, 3:35. The truck practice and qualifying, followed by the Truck Series race at 8 Eastern. On Fox, Big Fox, the drivers-only broadcast for the Baptist Health 200. Stage lengths 30, 30, and 74 for that. On Saturday, 10:30 a.m. starts the Xfinity practice and qualifying. 1:05 over on Prime, the Cup P and Q. And then around 4 o'clock on CW, the Xfinity race, the Hard Rock Bet 300. I know that's popular down there in Florida. Shout out to them sponsoring the race. Stage lengths 45, 45, 110. And then on Sunday, it's the big show on FS1, the Cup race, the Straight Talk Wireless 400. Stage lengths 80, 85, and 102.
Giddy up, man. First of all, gotta address a comment here, Elliot. Yudo saying I made up that line that my soccer coach told me. Go ask Ernie yourself, Yudo. You live about like 3 blocks from him, brother. Don't come in here calling out my bullshit. I don't appreciate that. Looking at this track though, man, Homestead, 1.5 mile, high tire wear, intermediate track. The primary comp is Darlington. We go to Darlington twice a year, so that's helpful. We do have these secondary comps of Charlotte, Texas, Kansas, and Las Vegas, Elliot, but we did not weigh them in our model because I really don't think Homestead and Darlington are in that same vein. I just don't. I think it's a totally different situation with the high tire wear. Like Las Vegas, as we're starting to see, and kind of same with Kansas, becoming more high tire wear, but I would dub those almost more high speed than a high tire wear intermediate, if you would.
Yeah, I definitely weigh those tracks, but you're right. I weighed the Homestead results and the Darlington results a heck of a lot more. For a lot of guys, I also looked at how they did last week because we were just at Vegas.
Yes, agreed. If I was weighing Vegas, it was last week to get that recency. Yeah.
Yep, no doubt about it. There, like you said, maybe they're kind of age in, but the track shape too. Charlotte, Texas, Kansas, Vegas, all those kind of cookie cutter 1.5 miles. Darlington and Homestead, definitely a little bit different. You're not ripping the wall at any of those other 4 intermediates like you do at Darlington or Homestead. You're not worried about the stripes.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have friends or family who aren't NASCAR fans, like this is a great week to, hey, come watch the race with me. I'll cook dinner, whatever, I'll bring the beer, whatever. This is such a fun race, and hopefully I think a lot of people can enjoy it. Looking at some of these trends here, Elliot, starting with qualifying, Tyler Reddick, he leads all active drivers in average starting position in the next gen era, 3.667. So if you want Reddick, probably take him before qualifying is what that tells me. Tyler Reddick and Byron, only active Homestead pole winners in the next gen era, 1 each. However, JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing, they lead all-time poles with 6. And the last first career pole winner was David Rudiman in 2008. Shout out David Rudiman, man. That's like that pulls on the heartstrings a little bit, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2010 Chicago will always have a place in my heart. I don't know about you.
I feel like I need to get like a David Rudiman die cast and add it to the collection. Just like
but when I was younger, Rudiman was my number 2 guy. I was a big fan of that Aaron's Dream Machine.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Winners have come from at Homestead in the next gen era. Again, we only have 3 results, so not a ton of trends to look through. But first, 13th and 5th. The deepest in the field to win in the next gen era, Christopher Bell. He was 13th in 2023. And let's go ahead. Let's look at the iFantasy race Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. Elliot, take it away.
Yep. One more note about those trends, though. In the next gen, all those races have been in the fall and the playoffs. This being a spring race, you're going to see things potentially play out a little differently. I believe in 20 and 21, the race was in the springtime, didn't have all of that playoff additions to it. We talk about early vacation mode for some guys really race in the playoff cars, always seeming to have an extra cylinder. That probably won't be as much of a factor this week, so it could change things up. In terms of the Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week, like you queued up so well for me before I blew it up, got to be Kyle Larson. Last fall at Homestead, had one of the best cars, if not the best car, but he finished in Asterisk Mark 13th after having multiple problems throughout the race. Lap 47, running in second place, had a tire go down and scrub the wall. Obviously, with a fast car, you're going to be able to battle back. Late in the race, lap 254, battling for the lead with Ryan Blaney up there. Got a little too aggressive, spun out, leading to a misleading result and taking him out of that amazing battle that we saw at the end between Blaney, Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick, your winner, with a badass last lap pass.
We're going to talk about this in a second, but I guess we can just talk about it now. I understand the asterisk mark here with Kyle Larson, but he is still way overpriced. I mean, really the whole weekend, but especially in Cup, dude. Like, it's one of those situations where I just like Kyle Larson's not been running really well. Honestly, like he ran well at Atlanta. Everyone made a big deal about that, but like he has not been fat. He's not had race winning speed really any other week, man. And like, so
he was relatively dominant in the middle stage of Vegas. I wouldn't say that they don't have race winning speed, but you're right. I feel like by Kyle Larson, otherworldly standards, it has not been a Kyle Larson season.
But not a lot of late run speed too, though, because like you know what I mean. It feels like he kind of gets. I don't know if his pit crew's messing around a little bit too. He kind of gets back in that like 10th to 15th range, and he can't really make his way up. It's just I don't know. Like I'm not betting Kyle Larson this weekend in Cup, and like there's one way you can bet him really, and we're going to talk about that later on. But
I would agree.
Aside from that, I think, happy to see him running 3 times this weekend, though. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We've seen Kyle Busch pull off the weekend sweep a couple of times. Larson will try for it. And just the next gen car being so damn hard to pass. It doesn't matter how fast you are.
True.
Best
Good
car
point.
or not.
Good
you get
point.
mired
Yeah.
back in the field. Just the way the next gen is.
Some people can, though, man. If like Bell and Blaney, it feels like it doesn't matter what track we're on. Those guys can just carve up anyone.
Blaney got up the field a couple of times. It didn't work that well for Bell. He never was. He started at the back. Didn't at Vegas last week. Was not. Didn't really get to the front there.
He made it top. He was top 5 at one point before that penalty, though. He was.
Yeah, but you're all right. Anyway,
Yeah.
enough about Vegas. Let's go ahead and break down the bets for the week in the parking garage props. In terms of our impressions of the books this week, in my opinion, obviously it's a very chalky week, and that's going to affect it. We talked about that a little bit with Larson. But also in the lower series, I know ESPN Bet was able to throw those up, but when I was looking this afternoon, even a little bit this evening, really only the outrights were out there for the Truck and Xfinity series. We haven't been able to go out there with all those bets, especially in the lower series. And even on the Cup side, not as many fun markets, wild markets that we've seen the last few weeks.
Well, remember how I talked about in the intro too? Like, I feel like the sports books were just worried about college basketball this week. You know what I mean? And like, I think they
That's a really good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Because like it feels like that a lot. Like NFL Week 1, we usually get not a lot of markets. Like it's kind of just one of those situations that that was kind of my take on it. It was just slow, right? It was really slow.
Yeah.
Like we still don't have any FanDuel, Xfinity, or truck odds. Like if I'm taking outrights, that's usually where I like to place those outrights. Not only can you get the cash out option, but also usually get some longer outrights in those series as well. So like we don't even have outrights for those lower series there. Most of them don't have like DK, no placement props for Xfinity or truck yet either. So yeah, I think you're dead on. Just kind of slow, but still some value out there. But it's just like got to sniff around a little bit. Like placement props. I don't really like this week. Like I'm more into the matchups. I haven't really looked at your card too much, but that's kind of where my head was.
Yeah, definitely a few placements to find value, and obviously always lots of value in the outrights. We both have a couple this week.
Yeah, I'll fire it out if that's all right with you. And I said this on Twitter on Tuesday. Like I think FanDuel woke up still hammered after St. Patrick's Day, dude. Like everyone else, every other book like opened Bell around 8-1. I saw a plus 750 at one point. I saw a 9-1. And like FanDuel's like, no, we're just gonna throw this guy out there who's won 3 of the first 5 races. We're gonna throw him out for 11-1. It gets bet down. I send that tweet out. I think some other people potentially saw that and were probably also thinking the same thing before I did. Gets bet all the way down to plus 750 on FanDuel. I'm like, oh, well, there it went. And then it pops back up the next day, 11-1 again. And it's still there at 11-1. Last time I checked, I think about 3 or 4 hours ago. So like, to me, like I took it once and then it came back up and I took it again. So I have 2 different tickets on this, one for about 1.6 of a unit, one for 0.4 of a unit. My hope is that if he qualifies well enough, I'll take a cash out on the smaller wager, ride out that larger one going into the race. But apparently the books, Elliot, just like didn't consider that 2024 Bell, or in 2023 Bell won this race and he finished 3rd last year after starting 3rd, scoring 13 stage points on the day as well. And honestly, dude, like I think like it's just so much disrespect for this guy. Like, yeah. If Larson went out and won the first 3 races, Kyle Larson would be going off right now at like plus 250, something like that. Like you're getting Christopher Bell at 11-1, man. That's freaking crazy. The only place that did not disrespect him this week was here at IBT in our projections. He's 3rd, number 1 in the Homestead Next Gen average finish, 5.3 last year in this race. Again, this was the fall, but not too long ago at the same time. 3rd in average running position, 5.4. 4th in driver rating as well. 3rd best average finish at the Darlington races last year as well, 8.0. So all that said and done, man, like Chris Bell 2-1. I haven't placed more than like a unit and a half on an outright this season, but I should a cup outright. Austin Hill, you gotta lay some going down on that. But aside from that, like I'm 2 units in on Chris Bell here. Giddy up, 11-1. Let's go.
Yeah, at this number, that's well worth the investment. Just an absolutely wild number. Like you said, just the general disrespect he gets. I don't think he'll get it for much longer because he really is a title favorite. I don't know if you said this or not, but joint best next gen average finish here. Like you said, he's got a win here.
Yeah.
Definitely a guy who's run way too well to warrant an 11-1 both this year and at Homestead in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. In the chat here, Stan with the tinfoil hat on saying if it's 11-1, it's still there. It's bait. Oh, don't do me like
the joke will be on us when this race gets flamed out and they have to push it to the end of the year and we're all stuck holding those tickets for end of the year, end of the week, even so, any extra time holding those tickets will be torture.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Cole saying Bell down. Oh, he's okay. So he's back down to plus 750 on FanDuel. I think I still saw like a 10-1. It was a boost over at Caesar, so maybe he stands on to something. They're boosting him as well. So Marcus saying Chris Bell will get the respect he deserves. I hope, brother. I hope. Hey, don't.
Marcus is the conductor of the Chris Bell train. I think we can say that at this point. So if it happens, it starts with him for sure.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, like I hope they don't give him respect because we've hit 2 outrights on him so far this season. I hope to keep doing it again. Yeah. Also, Didi hanging out with us in the chat saying hello, boys. What's up, Didi? Good to see you. I hope you're having a great Thursday evening here.
Yeah, Chris Bell, the Rodney Dangerfield of the Cup Series. No respect out here. Like I said, Bell, even at a 750, I like. Toyota in general, we both like. I got to go Tyler Reddick, though, if we're going to go with the Toyota outright here. 6-1 over on BetMGM, the best I could find. Obviously, it's a little short, but he's well warranted it. In our model, P5, and honestly was probably kind of knocked down because of Spring Darlington last year, where he sent it on Chris Buescher, neither of them had good finishes. So he could be even higher in the model, if not for that knocking him down. Obviously, the Darlington, I forget what the phrasing was, high speed, high wear, intermediate tracks, whatever the fancy word to say, we weighed the Darlington finishes. He was there too. This guy feels at home when he can rip the wall. We've seen it at Homestead. We've seen it at Darlington. In the Cup Series, he crashed in 2022, but in 4 other starts has finished in each of the top 4 positions, 1, 2, 3, and 4, with that win last fall. And last week after Vegas, they led 34 laps, nearly won that race. The strategy just kind of bit him in the ass. On the radio, he was surprised at 21-1, and he says, man, we got to get our shit together and win a race. Why not go ahead and start that up at one of his favorite tracks, get that win out of the way right now.
Yeah, I mean, when it's hot and slick, dude, like Tyler Reddick comes to play. I'm curious what the forecast's going to do for him. Like 77 degrees, a little cloud over top as well. So I don't know how slick it will get, but either way, Tyler Reddick, he was 5th in our model, as you mentioned. Like this is really one of his best tracks, man. I mean, I had to watch back that race just because I wanted to relive that last lap pass. Like there was so much going on there, man. Top in the average speed rankings in driver rating last year as well. So, and you look at his Xfinity stats here, insane. Like this guy, this has always been one of his best tracks. So I don't blame you at all for jumping on Reddick. And it was actually one of the reasons, Elliot, that I jumped on this Toyota outright plus 180 over at DraftKings, because I thought about just betting Joe Gibbs Racing. I found him plus 375 over ESPN, but I was like, I need Tyler Reddick in this too if I'm really gonna feel confident, put a unit on it. Like my thing with this entire Toyota gang, like we talked about, they usually unload quick here, and this kind of gives me a little bit extra insurance that Bell outright, because we have 5 of our top 10 are Toyota. So to get it at plus 180 feels good. Denny, who Reddick passed to get that win last year, nearly won this race last year. Number 1 in our projections, always a threat on high tire wear tracks, as good as it gets at managing and saving his stuff. We got a chat or a message earlier in the chat that was like, hey, what do you guys think of Denny over in the Discord? And like, I think you and I are both like, Denny could absolutely win this race, but to me, I just like the team seems like they're kind of not gelling at 100%. So I was like, just give me Toyota. Same with like Chase Briscoe. Won Darlington last year, our best comp. He was also the best in the comp finishes at Darlington as well. MTJ pulled Homestead in 2023 in this car as well. So I like Briscoe. And like, I don't think Bubba can win this race, but he's 8th in our projections. Like he's super consistent, whether it was Darlington, Homestead, he's good on these tracks too. He's been getting better at saving his stuff. So I'm just high on Toyota in general. Tyler Reddick's a big part of it.
Yeah, hey, don't forget Toyota outright. You get them legacy boys and Riley Herbst too thrown in there.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
You love the long shot possibilities too. In terms of Denny, I almost feel kind of the same way that I feel about Keselowski. That cliff hits you real quick. We're coming up on almost a year since Denny's won a cup race. That was when we were at Dover at the end of last April. We're looking at the end of March here, almost a year since
I'm okay. Panic meter. 1 to 10. Where are you at on Denny?
I'm at least a 4. You could tell how the frustration that he had after Phoenix, not being able to get that win. He's competitive, but he also knows his chances to win races may be fewer further between now. He's getting a little older. Can hardly sponsor that 11 car now. I need to get Progressive to come
you're gonna get buried in the. If you're a Denny truther listening to this, go ahead, give Elliott some shit. That was disrespectful.
This is the most respectful I've been to Denny in years. There were a few years there where Denny Hamlin fans and Bowman fans did not get along very well because of a certain Martinsville race. So
all Hendrick fans have hated Denny Hamlin at one point. It's all right. I'll keep. It's funny because last year at this time, Elliott, every week you knew I was just betting Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Now it's I'd rather just bet Tyler Reddick and Chris Bell now.
Yeah.
It's just, but it's they're running better than those guys, and also they're just better numbers. So yeah.
On Reddick, with it being hot and slick too. You mentioned the Xfinity stats, and I'm glad you did. Won 2 championships in a row there on early November evenings, running it well there too.
Good point. Good, very, very good point. Mallory saying, "Hey guys, I'm surprised Elliott still has power at his house." Elliott, what's going? You got storms going on out there in the Berg. What's going on?
Apparently, thanks for the heads up. If I drop out, at least now you know why. I guess probably is a little stormy. For once, there's no noise outside my window though. I probably just jinxed it, but normally we hear someone revving it up out there as if one of the cup cars is right outside my window.
Yeah, they know what's going on in here. Elliott, you got another outright, and I'm kind of peeved off about it because you and I both saw a huge number on this guy earlier in the week at one of the books that does not think you and I are real people and lets us play on them. So take it away.
Yeah, my longer shot of the week, Chase Elliott in that green UniFirst number 9 this week, 16-1 over at BetMGM. One of those guys that, again, it's been a hot minute since he won, almost a year since that Texas win that broke a year-long winless streak there. In the fall, this was one of those races in that round of 8 where we thought, oh shit, Chase Elliott might be able to actually get to the championship 4 and win this championship. He led 81 laps, ended up finishing P5 and all the mess there. Had 4 career top 10s here. And in the last 3 weeks, too, he's finished in the top 10. So some quiet consistency for the 9 car. Third in our model, has run well at Darlington, obviously. At Homestead, throughout his career, never worse than P15. So a guy that just doesn't run into trouble here. They execute races pretty well. Even though a top 15 for a Hendrick guy who you have an outright on is usually not a pretty good day in terms of the grand scheme of things, never finishing outside of the top 15, having a really, truly bad day. Eventually, when you have those kind of days and you stack those kind of days, victory is going to come your way with good enough cars, past champion driver. And like I said about Texas, it's not a direct comp. The tire wear is not as bad. It doesn't run the same way as Homestead. But it does feel like these 1.5 miles are the best chance for Chase Elliott to get a win. It's no longer the road courses. The super speedways are equal for just about everybody. It's these 1.5 miles, these intermediates that give him the best chance to win. And why not this weekend for the 9 car? We know Hendrick has run well here also.
Yeah, I mean, just one of those guys who just keeps plugging away, makes his car better throughout the day, has great communication with his team because he hasn't, shown a ton of speed since that early season victory in the preseason down in Bowman Gray, but just continues to chip away at it. I'll talk more about him later, but is he running this UniFirst scheme? Is that what's going on this week? Okay, so I love UniFirst. We used to use them at the Pizza John that I used to Tom's Pizza up in IUP, our college town, Elliott, and every time UniFirst came in, always the delight, man. I was a little Italian guy, just a great paisano, if you would. And he was always just a gentleman and always a blast to hang out with. So, just want to shout out UniFirst. Great business out there. Appreciate you, Jims. Yeah,
that's something I'll try to shout out in these banners too, especially if a guy's running a different scheme that you don't expect. Let's go ahead and throw it on the banner. Make sure guys know who they're looking for. Because normally, if it's Chase Elliott, you're looking for that blue and white Napa car. This week, nice lime green UniFirst scheme. Yeah. What do you say we shift over some placement props? Yep. I was a big fan of the top 10s. You weren't. I got a few top 10s out there. And it's going to start with the bet that you are going to get tired of hearing from me. And I'm going to keep either losing money on or eventually getting it to hit. And that is Carson Hocevar to finish in the top 10. plus 160 over at Caesars. Looking back a couple of weeks, this number was in the 400s in terms of him finishing in the top 10. That just shows how well that he's run, even though the finishes haven't been there. The speed is there for Spire and for Hocevar. They just have so much dumb shit they need to get out of the way, whether it's bad luck or issues or whatever. They're running top 10, running pretty well last week. Have a 2-tire stop call late in the race. 54 comes in, hits them. They both run into issues. Hocevar ends up getting knocked off strategy big time. That 2-tire call may have been what locked in the top 10 for him, or at the very least, the under 18.5 finishing position prop that I had on him. It's one of those, I keep comparing it to Todd Gilliland last summer. There was 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row, it must have been, where I was on that guy. And if they open up a finishing position market somewhere in the 15th to 21st place range for Hocevar, I'm taking it. I'm putting him in that range. But the speed is there that this 77 getting in the top 10, it's going to make me some money one of these weeks. That's for sure.
I mean, it's a limited sample size to what we have on him, but Homestead Next Gen Total Speed Rankings, top 5. Next Gen average finish, top 5.
Yep, I didn't even mention that. Ran top 10 last year in that playoff race where it was all the playoff guys in the top 10, and there's that 77, the rookie at the time, Hocevar.
Yeah, I mean, rates out 13th in our model, and like before, the thing that drug him down is he had terrible finishes at the Darlingtons. That killed him. But he ran actually not terrible at them. And keep in mind, he also won a truck race here. So I like Carson Hocevar this week. My issue, it's the price, Elliot. We are throwing out plus 450 gainers on him a couple weeks ago at Phoenix, and it felt great. I felt alive. I felt good heading into Saturday with that ticket, man. And then he qualifies up front. The long run speed's been a little bit of an issue. Staying out of trouble's been an issue. Plus 160 is just too short for me. But I like the guy. I'll have some exposure to him in the fantasy realms. Just can't get behind plus 160.
I can understand that.
I just want to feel alive again, Elliot. I want to feel alive. I want another 450. Give me it. Let's go.
Could happen. I know one of these bets on manufacturer props make you feel alive. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me some of your other top 10s here.
All right, yeah, let's keep cranking out the top 10s then. I got to go with last week's winner, Josh Berry. Had the top 10 on him last week. Obviously, that hit, thankfully. Berry, he showed last week that this 21 car hasn't died. It hasn't fallen off. It was, maybe part of a team issue, but also maybe partly a driver issue for who used to be in that 21. Speed's on par with Penske, which makes sense. They built it in the same shop. And having the driver to back it up shows that this 21 cannot be ignored. I wouldn't have even thought of him on this type of track. Normally, it's the short tracks. Maybe even a super speedway run, maybe a couple, maybe like a Nashville for a guy like Berry. But going out there, not only doing what he needed to do at Phoenix with a P4, but ending up winning the race. And it was a strategy play that got him to the front, that knocked your Lason and your Byron a little bit further back, gave him the breathing room to win that race. It was not that Josh Berry ran poorly. He was top 5, top 6 all day long in that 21. A well-deserved win for him. Like I said, the speed's on par with the Penske boys, who we look at every week, at least the 22 and the 12. And when we get into playoff season, 21 is locked in. I'm not ruling out Josh Berry advancing out of the round of 16 if he can continue these sort of runs. Top 10 again at a plus 160. I like this plus 160 a lot better than I like Hocevar's plus 160. I can say that. Still maybe a bit of a lower price than I would want. But Berry, a guy who cannot be ignored going forward as well.
Yeah, take out the road courses, and this guy's like a real threat. Yeah, take out the road. This guy,
he may be the worst road course driver in the Cup Series. But
I don't think it's a question. Here's my thoughts on Berry this week, Elliot. I like him. I think he could finish top 10. However, instead of shooting a plus 160, let's go 10-1 on the top Ford. Yeah. I think that's the way we have to play him. I win a half a unit on this, 10-1 at Bet365, and I've seen this as low as plus 550 on Caesar. So I think if you can get a 10-1 on Josh Berry, top Ford, I mean, this is double the value what Caesar is giving you. So I'm all in here, man. Like, Ryan Blaney is the only Ford inside the top 10 of our projections. So I'm taking flyers on 2 guys who are the next favorites in our projections. Josh Berry being the first, 11th in the projections, riding high off that win, as you mentioned, like finally kind of, there's a confidence that comes with that. We saw it last week with Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity series. Like, he didn't make a mistake. He knew he had to run perfectly to beat Almirola. He did. I think Josh Berry will have a similar confidence to him this week. And he finished 11th in that race last season as well, 11th in the total speed rankings that day, so was not a fluke finish by any means. Started 12th, 14.1 average finish. Also 7th in the total speed rankings in 2024 at the high wear intermediate track. So it kind of makes sense, like, to me, why you would want Josh Berry this week, Elliot. Like, given his Cars Tour short track background, he knows how to save his stuff. Wouldn't even do a burnout. Originally, he did end up doing a burnout late, but like he knows he has to take care of his stuff. And so, yeah, I'm in here for a half unit on the 10-1 flyer, Top Ford.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I was going to bring up that Cars Tour point also that you reminded me of. In those sort of races, say the race is 100 laps, you got to spend your first 75 laps just saving your stuff, and then you really turn it on. So these sort of high tire places, really good for Berry. And in terms of the Top Ford, like you said, there's only a couple of guys who maybe can get to him. I think that it's Blaney obviously is his biggest threat. Then you got Logano out of the same building. Maybe a Chris Buescher, maybe this other guy that you mentioned. We sure know that, Keselowski probably not a threat.
Yeah.
Cole Custer certainly not a threat, but maybe this gentleman that you have next could be.
Yeah, so Logano 16th in the projections, 17th is Buescher, but right above them is at 15th is one Ryan Preece. I mean, congrats to Ryan Preece. I wish we had a post-race show to talk about Ryan Preece's career day last week, but he did have one, folks. I promise you, he finished third. So I'm going to go with a 20-1 here at Bet365. I've seen this as low as plus 950 at Caesars. So again, we're getting value here. That's why we're taking these pre-flops. It's not just because we think these could maybe happen. It's because we're trying to beat some of the movement here. That's why we're taking them on a Thursday night or sometimes as early as Tuesday if you're over there in the Discord. But I really like Ryan Preece, another short track driver, 15th in the projections, fourth among Fords, right behind Brad Keselowski as well, who we didn't really mention in that Ford crop. 8th in the next gen Homestead average finishes. He's finished 13th and 10th. That might be able to get it done here. Honestly, like Ford, we're not very high on. And like now he's in an RFK car as well, an organization that had two of the top three cars at the spring Darlington race, probably our closest comp race to this one that we're going to. It's spring, it's high tire wear, it's down south where, they like to get down and have a couple bevies. So 10th in the high tire wear intermediate comp finishes last year as well, 14.5, pulling those from Darlington. So Ryan Preece, Top Ford, 20-1. Let's go. Like, again, just a sprinkle. This is 0.2 of a unit, but I don't hate it. I don't hate that number. I like that.
Yeah, so much of the attention has been on Berry the last couple of weeks for being one of those guys. Hey, we didn't know if this guy was any good. Oh, it looks like he's pretty good. Ryan Preece, you can say the same thing. I know they use the option tire strategy to get to the front and lead laps at Phoenix, but getting to the front leading laps in the Cup Series is certainly no fluke. And then comes back and runs P3 this week. One of those guys that you put a guy in good equipment, which is what we thought he was getting at Stewart-Haas. Turns out that was equipment that was slowly dying to the point of seeing that 41 car he was in last year just be completely off the map. In Cole Custer, hopefully you can get that. Hopefully there's a couple good runs so you can get a little bit of that cash out on that title card on that 41, because right now it's not giving you any value for sure.
Oh, brother, that might be that might be a dead card at this point. I did want to ask you, like, I don't know if it's just like the Josh Berry win has me thinking, but like, is there a chance Ryan Preece could win this race at 70-1? I mean, he's in the equipment now, dude, and it reminds me a lot about how we felt about Josh Berry the last couple of weeks. It really, dude, like 70-1.
Homestead is just really tough both for Ford and for RFK. I haven't looked too much into their stats because they didn't rank super high in our model.
They're better at Darlington, yeah,
the numbers didn't look too appetizing. There's definitely a couple of spots where I think you can see Preece win. It's a shame that New Hampshire's a playoff race this year, because that would be one where I'm looking at Preece. And really looking at him there, he's got the New Hampshire ties, more than anyone else.
Remember this conversation. If he I might be throwing probably like 0.2 of a unit on that 70-1. I haven't done it yet, but like
it might be worth a sprinkle. It's just that this week, I mean, even the Ford manufacturer outright is like 4-1 at a lot of places.
Right.
People are not thinking Ford is going to win this race. I like the track that you're on. I just think you're maybe like when I picked Berry to win at Phoenix in my bets article.
Putting the horse before the cart.
Be a little too early.
Putting the horse before the cart. You're only 1 week before. You're only 1 week early.
I do think the 60 car could be a threat. I just think probably not a threat to win it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Whatever his top 10 is. I know you're not on top 10s this week. I'm on one more top 10. And I know the phrase that I've used on both Hocevar and Berry is this guy can't be ignored. And you might be thinking I'm blowing some smoke up. Oh, this guy's 2 on Hocevar, or this guy's just looking at Berry too highly because he has had a couple of good weeks. Those are both bullshit bets. I understand if people think that. AJ Allmendinger, though, you get a better number, plus 250 with DraftKings. And Homestead is just, I want to call it almost an aberration of how good of a track it is for Allmendinger. He's run all 3 of the next gen races here and is tied with Seabell for the best average finish in the next gen here. He ran 3rd, 5th, and 8th each of the last couple of years. Again, one of those guys that even in playoff races, still finding a way to run up front there. His average finish at Homestead, 14.9 for his career, which is way better than I thought. Ran 13 starts, a couple of them in some old Red Bull cars or some Richard Petty Motorsports shit boxes.
Yeah.
14.9 career average finish, better than I would have thought. And you want to talk about recency bias too. Ran pretty well at Vegas last week. I don't have exactly where he finished, but he was a guy that was flirting around the top 10, if not even getting a top 10. The 16, someone that you wouldn't normally think of as a guy to watch. I think maybe his outright's a little bit too far of a reach. I don't know that Colleague has race winning cup equipment right now on the ovals, but plus 250 for a top 10, definitely a number I'm willing to take.
Yeah, I mean, we woke up this week, and I think you even put it out before I had the projections up this week that, like, hey, I'm interested in AJ Allmendinger, and the projections absolutely agreed. We have him 7th in our projections, and I will say this is like the first time we've ever had like a caveat. So the issue with this is that AJ Allmendinger didn't run any of these comp races last year. So we pulled his 2023 Darlington numbers in and subbed those for his 2024, just because I was going to tank him so far if he had no 2024. So there is a caveat that I did label that in the model this week, whether you're checking it out on the site or the raw version that we put in the Discord. So either way, I like Dinger this week. This is another guy. I'm going to have a ton of Dinger in fantasy. I've already set a couple lineups, and I already have him ready to go in there as long as he doesn't qualify too crazy in some of those points differential leagues. But I like him. It's just another one. Like I feel like I want better than a plus 250, but he was quick last week. He was really quick. I think he finished top 10. So I don't hate this. I just wish like I could have got a 3-1 on it after I feel greedy after getting that Suarez plus 350 last week. I think is the issue.
And I understand that thought on all these numbers, but it's almost the same sort of conversation that we had reversed about Austin Hill. Oh, you can't bet on Austin Hill plus 350 outright at Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter what the number is if you win and you make the money.
I'm the king of drinking juice, so you can throw that back in my direction any day.
No doubt about it. I know you were big on a matchup. My matchup is Allmendinger over Carson Hocevar plus 115 over on DraftKings. One of those fun ones that you don't normally see. Guys like this in matchups are stacked up against each other. Hocevar is a big favorite. He's all the way down to minus 160 in this matchup when I looked. And like I said, I like both of them to run well this week. But Allmendinger's had the longevity and he's had the consistency. There's no, he was running well, but some shit happened and he didn't get the top 10. Top 10 driver all 3 years in the next gen, like I said. The longevity, career-wise, and running well here. Not having that sort of shit happen to you, definitely a big favorite, especially with this number with such a big disparity. Yeah. You know me, I'm taking the plus money all day.
Yeah, I mean, this was one that I really looked at for a while, and it's just hard because they haven't raced against each other a lot on this track. So like that was like the hard thing to kind of come to terms with. But I mean, he should not be plus money. This should be a pick 'em. So like as far as like for me, sometimes criticizing numbers, this is a good number on AJ. So I like it. I like that quite a bit. I'll throw out my matchup as well while we're kind of here in this vicinity, Ellie. I saw we got a couple questions in chat I want to get to, but so I saw this one earlier in the week. This is Chase Elliott minus 114 at Bet365 against Ross Chastain. I'm going 3 units on this. This is my biggest cut bet of the weekend. And I did see this earlier at minus 135 at ESPN Bet. I brought it up in the Discord. I said, any thoughts on this? And then I saw it, basically a pick 'em at Bet Rivers. Was like, yeah, I'm in on that then. Because like, this is the biggest discrepancy in our projections. Chase is 3rd. Ross is down at 22nd. Ross is 25th in Homestead Next Gen average finishes, 22nd. He does have a 2nd place finish, but that came on like a pretty ballsy strategy call. Like that's generally like sometimes how Ross pulls these out. Doesn't have a good average running position, doesn't necessarily have a great day going, and just kind of has some crazy. Chase is 7th in those next gen average finishes, 11.3, like just much more consistent. Same in the total speed rankings. Chase 6th, Ross 15th. In the fall too, like that was one of Chase's best races. I think we all said like, hey, this dude could legitimately win this thing. Average running position 4.0, spent 95.1% of the laps inside the top 15, finishing 5th. Ross, on the other hand, average running position of 24.6, finished 33rd. That's not an asterisk mark either. Like that is legitimately where he finished. He spent 8.2% of the laps inside the top 15. And we've talked about it, dude. Like Chase is just this guy. He nickel and dimes everyone. 3 straight top 10s, despite not having the best average running position. Ross is kind of one of these guys who has to take big swings every week, whether it's, last week on the strategy call or whether it's Coda and going in and bombing people in turn one. And I'm a Ross fan, but like at the end of the day, like I think he only can beat Chase on a strategy call here. So I'm going to go ahead and back Chase Elliott minus 1,415.
Yeah, you know me, I have no problem with Chase this week. I have his outright on the card. So obviously that has him beating everybody, not just Chastain. You mentioned last week, obviously Trackhouse did have a pretty good day, at least 2 or 3. SVG, not such a good day, spinning out a couple of times there in that Red Bull 88. Look good doing it, though, I'll say that. But yeah, as Trackhouse, they needed a good day, good finishes because they haven't started the year like they wanted to. And it's really risky with Trackhouse, a team that still is, I don't want to say finding its footing. They're established. They've had wins. They had Ross become a couple hundred feet from a title. But there seems to still be a very streaky team with some very streaky drivers, and they got to stay up. So it's gonna be a big effort for Chastain. I think even run with the 9 this week. It'll be fun to watch, but especially with those stats, I'm taking the 9 every day over the 1.
I do like Ross this week though, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. We have one more cup featured here in specials.
We can get to the chat though. You mentioned there were a few questions we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's hit those. Here we have Stan. He has a AD plus 800 for a top 10. Will you regret that?
Good question. I almost feel like, and I feel dumb for not looking at the stats because I kind of thought about this earlier when I was putting together my card. Yeah. I wonder if this is one of those weird Austin Dillon weeks. I ended up passing up and not really looking at it. I know you've thankfully got the advantage of more than one monitor on your screen, which is something I'll have in a couple of months. So maybe you got some Austin Dillon stats more handy than I do.
Yeah, so 19th in the projections actually. So I don't hate it at an 8-1. Like let's not go crazy, Stan. Right? Like let's budget the bankroll here. Yeah. A little sprinkle though. Like the thing is, like actually he is top 10 in the Homestead Next Gen average finishes here. Also in those Next Gen total speed rankings. What drops him is his Darlington performance. And he was kind of not the best at Homestead last year specifically. He had better runs the 2 previous years. He has been decent here in the Xfinity and Truck Series, though. So, like, I don't hate the 8-1 number. And, like, sometimes Austin Dillon just pops up. And this is the highest Austin Dillon's been in our model. I don't want to say all year, but, like, definitely in a couple of weeks. So,
maybe the super speedways he would have been higher. But
yeah, for sure. So, no, I don't hate it, Stan. 8-1. Like, to me, like, Elliot, to bet on a guy like Austin Dillon, as gross as it is, like you have to get paid, and he's getting paid in this. That's why, like, I'd rather bet this at 8-1 as much as I like Hocevar than a Hocevar at plus 165, just because I just don't see the value in it. So yeah, I don't hate 8-1, man.
I don't blame you at all.
All right. That looks like the only question here. So Elliot, throw out this bet, and I would like to kind of preface the conversation with that this was brought up in the Discord earlier. There's been kind of a lot of chatter about it. So another great reason to get invested with the IBT Racing family, if you guys haven't already. It's just the quickest way to connect with us. Elliot, myself, Rod, Ryan from iFantasy Race, we're all hanging out there pretty much all day, every day, answering your guys' questions, talking out, putting our full cards in there too. Like we'll put all the bets that we talk about tonight and all that good stuff over there. But this was one that got brought up over there, Elliot. So go ahead and talk your shit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think I think it was Trav. I don't remember who had put a boost on this parlay as well to get.
I think it was Trav and Taco. Yeah, Trav and Taco.
Got it. Yeah, we were talking about Kyle Larson.
And Kyle, maybe Kyle as well. Also Blurry Kyle. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Got it. Okay. Anyway, the way to bet Kyle Larson this week, I mean, you see the outrights in Xfinity and Truck. He's at minus money. He's juiced to win those races. The way to bet on him is a weekend sweep parlay. I put it together at Caesars and got plus 1443. Again, if you have boost, this is a great thing to use a boost on. Homestead is the perfect place for Kyle Larson to go triple duty and go for the sweep. I don't know if you remember about 10 years ago when Larson was this young kid. Larson was a dog at Homestead before he was Kyle Larson. He was just, this new kid in the 42 car, got a bit of a dirt background, ran a Busch car for a while. He wasn't Kyle Larson then. But back then, it was one of those deals where it was like, wow, when that kid gets good, he's going to be damn good. 2015 through 17, fifth, second, third. One of those guys who, when it was holding the championship race, you had the guys who were battling for the title, and then you had Kyle Larson. Yep. And it's only gotten better since he's moved over to Hendrick. Back in those days, 626 career laps at this track. Because I threw myself off there.
Laps led.
Yeah, I typed it. 622 laps led. Yes.
Wow.
4 races with at least 96 laps led since he's moved over to Hendrick. 4th, 1st, 34th when he hit the barrels running with Christopher.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
Remind me, we were betting on him that day.
It's 2 asterisk mark finishes in a row, and then a win in 22 and a 4th in 21 with that 13th last year. The main comp track, Darlington. Kyle Larson whooped ass at the Southern 500 last year, led 263 of 367 laps. Of course, the late caution, the late strategy took the race out of his hands, put it in the 14 and the 8. Darlington, 50% top 5 rate there, more than 1,000 career laps led, 4 races there with at least 124 laps led. So we know Larson's good here in Cup. What about the lower series? We know that the Xfinity program, the number 17 for Hendrick right now, it's at a great place. It is so strong that even Bowman at one of his worst tracks can damn near win in it. That's how good it is right now with Adam Wall and that crew. The Truck Series, you would think it'd be his best shot to win, the easiest shot for him to win. I think it might be arguably his worst shot to win. We've seen both Michael McDowell and Justin Haley, I don't want to say struggle, but definitely not perform up to par when running that 07 or the 7. But with all due respect to those guys, Larson is more like Rowdy Busch in one of these Spire cars. Kyle Busch already has a win this year in one of those Spire trucks, and Larson hasn't run a lot of trucks in his career. 15 starts, 3 wins, 8 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and of his career laps in the Truck Series, he's led 36% of those.
Wow.
So I think, like I said, Homestead is the perfect place for him to do it. For Kyle Busch, it was Bristol. He was able to pull it off twice. For Kyle Larson, this is one of those things to add to the resume to really put yourself up there as one of the greatest of all time. Couldn't think of a better weekend. Couldn't think of a better place. And hell, he's running basically the same damn car in all 3 races. That Hendrick car's scheme, not a more iconic paint job to do it in either.
Yeah, the really tough part about this is like, I want to play this, and like I think I might still. I'm gonna wait till FanDuel throws out their numbers to potentially get down on this to see if I can find any value. Because like 14, because like then it's like you're rolling into Sunday on a 14-1. Yeah. I think the thing is that would scare the books enough where you could hedge your ass. You know what I mean? You either find a way to hedge, or at the same time like you take the cash out and you run. Like that would be my plan here, because he is second in the Homestead Next Gen Total Speed rankings. It's just the average finishes aren't there, right? And the average finishes also weren't there at Darlington last year. Like that's he is 9th in our projections, and it's because of that. And like that's why like I feel like he should be closer to 9-1 in the Cup Series or 8-1. So it's just like that's the issue, you know. I feel like, but
that's why it's so important that we bring up an asterisk mark driver every week. And Ryan and I Fantasy Race puts out an article if you're subscribed where he throws out basically every asterisk mark potential driver the last couple of years at those tracks. 34th and 13th both look like really shitty finishes for Larson on a track he's good on. But again, you run into the pit road barrels and you take it a little too hard fighting for the lead in the last stage of the race, and it's going to make those finishes look worse. Same with Darlington. Would have been a runaway win there last year if that goes green. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, no, I'm definitely agreed with you. I just wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit, but I absolutely think like this is sometimes where I like to let numbers do the talking and do the walking, but sometimes you just have to use real common sense, and this is one of those situations. So I'm with you there. Andrew just jumped in. What's up, Andrew? Hope you're having a great Thursday so far, man. Asking our thoughts on Austin Cindric. So model doesn't really like him this week, man. Down 27th. Like this isn't really the place. Like hasn't had the finishes, Elliott. I mean, he's bottom 10 in the total speed rankings as well. Like not great for Austin Cindric. Not great last year in average running position here in driver rating. Not really great either at Darlington last year. So like I'm kind of out on Austin Cindric as a whole, but I was out on him last week too, and he ran a top 10. So like that's the thing we're kind of fighting here. It's like he has run better than the numbers have predicted at the non-super speedways.
Yeah, for Cindric, it's definitely the recency bias more than his Homestead or Darlington stats. One of those guys who in stage 1 we thought was really going to be a player. He's been qualifying really well lately. The Fords and Penske Fords especially have been really on one the last couple of weeks. Running better than I thought he would, but you're right. The stats here not all that great. Kind of got mired back in some of that strategy. You're right though, and it still ended up with a top 10 And again, one of those guys, I'd be cautiously optimistic. Maybe look at a top 10 number, maybe some matchups or
Plus
something like that.
160, like I just can't do that
Yeah,
at plus 160, and like 50 to 1. Like I mean, I don't want to say
he's
like
not. Like we,
I
we we already
I'll
we
I'll
already
bet
are out on Ford to win. So
I'll bet
that's
Preece
nothing.
70 to 1 before even thinking about Austin Cindric at 60 to 1 or
Yeah.
50 to 1. So
Yeah, or
yeah.
whatever Barry's number is. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, no, I mean, no, definitely not a bad guy for fantasy. I don't expect him to qualify super well, so could get you some differential there, Andrew, for sure.
Mhm.
And the other thing too, no one else is gonna fucking play him, brother. No one else is gonna play him, so I think you'll be you have a little bit of an advantage on that sense as well. Let's go ahead though, Elliot. We're getting kind of towards the end of our time here, so we're gonna kind of do some rapid fire for Xfinity. Then we'll talk a little trucks and some F1 fuckery as well.
Yep. Yeah, perfect place to lead off for Xfinity. If it's not going to be Larson, I'm going Sheldon Creed at 7-1 on Bet365. Something's got to give with this guy. I mean, my God, he's come so close. He was even poor CW. They run the ad that's like Sheldon Creed is the king of second place. Can he finally get it done? Or who can stop him? I don't know that anyone can stop him. These high tire wear intermediates are where he's best. He would have won that damn Darlington race last fall if it weren't for the way that ended up. Ended up P3. P5 here last fall. 4 of his last 5 at Darlington, again, our main comp, 2nd, 8th, 9th, and 3rd. Those are similar enough tracks that I think even without the same Homestead consistency, Creed in that 00 has got to be a favorite this week. And he is right below Larson in most of the books.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. I like Sheldon Creed this week. If I could have found a nice like a decent top 5 number or top 3 number on him, I was gonna give him a look or even some matchups. But the books kind of sniffed him out. So if you want to bet him, you kind of have to bet the outright. So I don't hate the call. And like honestly, I think if Larson doesn't win, it's gonna be one of these Haas cars. Just like based on both their guys' record. And then how good Cole Custer's been here at times and Riley Herbst in Haas equipment as well. I know it's different Haas equipment, but at the same time, it's similar. So yeah, I like both of them. I wanted both of them on my card and I just couldn't find a way to get in.
Yeah, and thank God Haas Xfinity is running well because we talked about Cole Custer being out to lunch. The F1 team is completely out to lunch too. So at least they got the Xfinity boys running well.
Yeah. Fastest, best series in the world, baby. Let's go. All right, so I'm gonna take a different approach to the Xfinity Series race. I don't have any outrights because I just think Kyle Larson probably does win this race, and if not, I don't feel like sorting through the Haas cars or whoever else can beat him. So I'm going 4 units down on a matchup. Christian Eckes minus 140 at ESPN Bet versus Justin Bonsignor. And Eckes, like this kid is exactly who I think you thought he was, Elliot, when you placed a future on him heading into this season. 9th in the Xfinity season standings this season so far. 5th among full-time drivers in average finish, 13.4. One finish worse than P13 so far this season. That was 29th at Atlanta when he crashed with 1 to go. Top 10 in 4 or 5 Truck Series races in 4 different trucks at this Miami track. Also started outside on the pole, finished P3 in his debut in Homestead as well. So like this is something, this kid's always had a feel for this track. Top 5 in 3 of 4 Truck Series races at Darlington, our closest comp as well. Won there in 2023. And Eckes is going up against Justin Bonsignor. And if you're not familiar with him, he is going in the number 19 Gibbs car this year. Very inexperienced driver. He kind of comes more from this this modified world. So if we were going, on a short track, I might think differently. But he's only ran 2 Xfinity Series races, 1 ARCA start. Both of his Xfinity starts have been in this car, and he finished 22nd last year. I believe up north in New Hampshire, and then 25th at Daytona. Like Eckes to me is just a top 10 Xfinity driver, Elliot, and you're getting him here in a matchup against someone who's just inexperienced like Bonsignor at a track that is as skilled as Homestead. Like this is a place to me, usually, unless you're just really good at it like Eckes was when he first rolled in, like you're not going to be that good. So minus 140, I'm willing to lay it on Eckes here. I feel really confident in him this week.
Yeah, it's worth the juice because it's going to be the equipment that carries Bonsignor and not his skills at Homestead. Obviously, great modified driver. Good to see guys like him get opportunities. We're talking about the late model guys. Also good to see the modified guys.
Knows how to manage his tires. So like that is one good thing going for him. But so does Eckes. Like he's a short track guy.
Yep, it certainly could help. And I feel like that New Hampshire might have been a bit of an asterisk mark. I think he ran into trouble because that's normally where I would look for him. The modifieds have such a deep tied in New Hampshire. I'm sure he'll be running that race again when we get there later in the fall. But yeah, for Bonsignore, I just don't see the upside at Homestead over a guy like Eckes.
Going to the placement props for Xfinity, Elliot, what do you have?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this as an outright because we didn't have any placement props. Thankfully, ESPN Bet saved me from doing something real crazy and throwing a 30-1 outright on Ryan Sieg. I think his win is coming, though, and I'm confident enough to at least take his top 3 here at 6-1. Last couple of weeks, P4, P7, running just as well as you would expect, especially with how strong their mile-and-a-half program has got the last couple of years and how we know Sieg has been able to run. Last fall, he was 7th here, pretty good. 5 career top 14 finishes was the metric that I used because, of course, those cars have been varying degrees of sucky or pretty good or okay, at least. And he's got similar finishes to some of the other comps. And I'm bringing in some of the other not super comp, but comp enough.
Sure.
Darlington is usually anywhere from 11th to 18th in terms of his average finishes there. Had a run 2020 to 2021 where he had 3 straight top 10s in a row. At some of the other comps, we know he had that heartbreaker at Texas last spring, losing to Sam Mayer just barely.
Yeah.
But 5 career top 10s there. At Kansas, 6 career top 10s, had 5 races in a row, late teens, early 20s, where he finished top 9 there. Las Vegas, 6 career top 10s, 7th, 2nd, 7th in the last 3 races there, including last week's finish. And then at Charlotte, P7 last year, 3 top 10s. This is a guy, again, he's built his team up enough to be a contender for the top 10 weekly. And I think Homestead, one of those places where he's going to be sniffing around. This year, there's going to be at least a couple of more close calls, if not finally getting that win for the 39. I think this race plays out. I'm putting him on the podium.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Honestly. I was trying to fade Ryan Sieg last week. I was looking around at a potential Taylor Gray matchup over him, and I couldn't pull the trigger just because his history on these mile and a halves over the past few years just spectacular. I mean, like, we're talking so good to the point where Kyle Sieg, his brother last year, or last week, I should say, top 11 run for him. I mean, great day for Kyle. Like, this team.
Yeah, Kyle Sieg was running so bad last year that they had to flip drivers to make sure that they could get the owner points in. Enough. So that really shows how much progress both the Sieg brothers and the team have made.
Yes. So I don't hate this. Like, I would rather, like, could I find a matchup maybe with him, maybe, and like, but 6-1, you're getting paid, right? You are getting paid. Yeah. Maybe a top 5 I would consider as well. But yeah, I like Ryan Sieg as well. And kind of keeping it in this placement prop standpoint, I think we just go back to the well and Harrison Burton top 10. I think we absolutely have to. We hit the 3-1 on him. I hit the 3-1. You apparently got a 4-1, which you didn't tell me about because I probably would have gone back in then if I knew.
It was in the Discord. So the way the Discord's set up, if you're not in there, we have a main chat, IBT Racing.
Okay, yeah.
We have a channel for the betting model, and there's a channel. Here's Elliot's betting card. Here's Seth's betting card. Here's Rod's betting card. It went in the Elliot betting card channel. It may have only been like an hour before the race. I had a couple that were late, but it may have even been the night before the race when I was thrown down in F1. So that, my friend, is on you.
I'll take it there. But like, he's in, like, why I like what happened last week at Las Vegas is we got a really clear picture of who has speed, long run speed at these mile and a halves. And say what you want about him, man, but Harrison Burton shows he's got long run speed, dude. Finished 8th, stayed on the lead lap when almost the entire field got lapped. He now has 3 top 10s in 5 races with AM Racing. I mean, you know me, I like HB in the Xfinity Series this year. I got that 35-1 future that as of like 2 weeks ago, you could still get that. So it obviously wasn't getting any open line value on there, but this is a top 10 guy to me in the Xfinity Series now. And at Homestead in Xfinity, yes, it was in JGR equipment, so you have to asterisk mark that a little bit, but 3 of 4 races inside the top 10 with the win. The only time he didn't finish top 10, he blew an engine in a race that he was leading laps in. And then he also had 3 out of 4 top 10s at Darlington in the Xfinity Series as well. P11 was the only non-top 10. So plus 225, I'm back in for a unit on Harrison Burton, man. Like, I just, this new market that we have for Xfinity is awesome, but everything's getting so juiced. Like, Ryan Sieg's juiced to hell in it every week. Like, Harrison Burton's one of the few top 10s because they don't believe in the equipment yet. So I'm just going to keep pounding to as long as we keep getting plus money on it, especially plus 225. Yeah. It's shorter than what we got last week, but hell.
It really is a great number. Like you said, with AM Racing, we've done our fair share of shitting on them for sure. But maybe it's one of those deals where maybe
you've done more.
Maybe it kind of was Haley Deegan's fault. Maybe it wasn't the team. I know they put in a lot of upgrades over there. They got a legit spotter in the building with Kevin Hamlin now. They've been able to upgrade the program to a point where they can consistently run top 10. You're right, though. I just hope the books don't figure it out for a few more weeks. Let's make a few more bucks on it first.
Yeah, agreed with you there. One more top 10 for me, Xfinity style. Daniel Dye, baby. Yeah, I'm going right back to colleague here. He's been a mid-teen driver throughout his rookie Xfinity car season so far this year. Wrecked out at Daytona early, but then he has finishes of P7, P17, P19, and P12 last week at Vegas, and like one lap down, but he finished better than Christian Eckes, better than Sammy Smith, better than Carson Quapple, Taylor Gray. So he's like giving us like again back to that same like good look at long run speed here with Daniel Dye 8-1 for a top 10. I think he could do it honestly. I think that's an egregious like it goes like minus money top 10. Harrison Burton plus 225. A bunch of guys like Jeb Burton, which I know he's top 10 in the Xfinity Series points. Can't really get behind him yet. Never really done this as of recently. And it's like, Daniel Dye 8-1. Yeah, let's go, baby.
I like it too. The equipment's
also
definitely better than an 8-1.
7th in the Truck Series last year at Homestead. Sorry, wanted to mention that.
Okay, nice. Yeah, the Collin car is just too good. I know Josh Williams, I'd maybe even consider a top 10 for a long shot, but I definitely like the Dye number a little better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Truck Series. We only have a handful of bets here. So what are you seeing outside of your Lason sweep?
Yeah, for me, it's another one of those. I wanted to pick an outright just to have a hedge if Lason doesn't win. I'm going Lane Riggs at 16-1. One of those numbers that feels a little long. He ran really well last week, looked bad fast on his way to a P5 there. That I had a little Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs Quinella there that was looking pretty good for a minute there.
Ooh.
Before we got to the end of that race. They both kind of faded a little bit. Last year in this race led 27 laps on some of the comp-ish tracks. P2 last fall at Kansas, P10 at Vegas in an Xfinity race in 2023, one of his limited starts there. One of these guys that I think you're going to see rip off a couple of wins, and at a 16-1, kind of boosted a little bit by the presence of a guy like Lason and another Cup Series regular that happens to be racing the trucks this week. Don't look away from this 34 car for too long.
Lane Riggs. All right, got it. I'll go ahead and throw out my bet, and I'm actually going to fade Lane Riggs' teammate here. I'm going Ross Chastain plus 115 at Caesars over Chandler Smith. I'm 2 units down on this, Elliot. Last week was the first time I bet Chandler Smith since last spring. We cashed a bunch of outright tickets on him in the Xfinity and then kind of faded him towards the rest of the season. And last week he was a top 5 truck all day and then fell off late. Couldn't manage his stuff. Couldn't relay information on adjustments. This is kind of this guy's MO. Like this is kind of his thing. And like for me, that's an easy fade going to a high tire wear track like Homestead. So Chandler at Homestead too, not great. Xfinity Series 1 top 10 in 3 races. Truck Series finished 10th in a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck in his 1 start here. Chandler at Darlington, our closest comp track. Xfinity 1 for 4 top 10. Truck Series 1 for 4 top 10. Ross, on the other hand, I know how you feel about Al Neeson and his equipment, but I love some.
I said last week with Honeycutt, and he showed it. He was up and down that leaderboard a good bit.
Yeah.
When you put a good driver in their equipment, they're going to win races and they're going to perform well.
Well, yeah, and like the thing about Ross, like he won Darlington in this Nice equipment last year.
Yeah.
4 top 10.
Driver.
Yeah, 4 top 10s at Homestead and 7 truck runs. Back-to-back top 5s and laps led in the last 2 runs here. And the truck came back in that COVID season, but still. Also, back-to-back top 10 runs at Homestead in his last season driving, connecting this back to colleague, back in his colleague days, top 10s them too. So he can do this in different equipment. Again, I'm just not high on him in the Cup Series this week, but that doesn't mean I can't be high on him in other series. 3 top 5s in 5 runs last year in the Truck Series, average finish of 7.4. So like I was thinking maybe I'll get down plus 110 on the top 5, but then I saw that average finish number. I was like, well, wait, I can get him against Chandler Smith plus 115 at a better price tag, and he doesn't even finish top 5. And at the same time, Bet Rivers has the same bet, Elliot, where Ross Chastain is the favorite at minus 120. So I'm getting plus money at Caesar. Like you have to go, right? Like, yeah, I feel like, you know me, bro. I bet juice matchups. I usually bet the favorites every single time. But a rare plus money matchup for me. Let's go.
Yeah, man, that works out well. And you're right with Chandler Smith, one of those guys that maybe is not a guy that can manage his stuff. That's not going to fare well on a high tire wear track.
Yeah. And with that little bit of plus money I get back if I do, I'm throwing it right on Ross Chastain at 11-1 here. I just the smallest of sprinkles, the 0.3 of a unit that I would get back from the bank there if I did hit that matchup. In addition to 1 times my money. So yeah, Ross Chastain outright. I think he could do it. Like I think there's a chance. If anyone's not afraid to race Larson at the end, it's this motherfucker.
No doubt about it. He will be in that 44 Nice truck that you see on your screen there this coming weekend too. So keep an eye out for another Cup guy to maybe take down the main Cup guy that we're all going to be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliot, let's go ahead. Let's turn the page to some Formula One because last week you thrown out some absolute gainers. You threw out a long shot here on the channel and it hit. So we also put a video out and I think people enjoyed that a little bit. So let's get back to some F1 fuckery.
Yep, Formula One, second race of the year, the Chinese Grand Prix. Last week, an absolutely wild race, some rain coming in at different times. The McLarens still look the fastest, and the books reflect that. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, the numbers are very juiced, to say the least, on those guys. So I got to step back again. Last week, Lance Stroll, top 6, paid off with his good runs at Melbourne in the past and the wet weather.
Yeah, give it to us.
Right in there at P6, made some big money. I'm going right back to that market this week for Yuki Tsunoda to finish top 6. That's at 7-1 over on Bet365. We know that Red Bull, the senior team, Max Verstappen, Liam Lawson, are not as fast as they used to. One of the best cars in the F1 paddock, garage, whatever you want to call it anymore. But the V-Carbs, the Racing Bulls, Visa Cash App RB, whatever you want to call them, those beautiful slick white liveries this year, they showed up with a little bit of speed. Yuki Tsunoda making Q3, qualifying 5th for this race. He ran in the top 6 basically the whole race. It was just that stretch in the mid to late stages of the race where everyone was on the slick tires and then it started to rain again. We saw the McLarens both go off track. We saw Max and Lewis Hamilton try to run it out there on slicks for a lap. But what the broadcast didn't show, at least at first, was Yuki Tsunoda also spinning out when that happened, dropped him back, didn't get the finish that he deserved. You could say it's an asterisk mark type of finish with that absolute chaos in the rain there. That sequence hurt him. I don't think we see that the same this week for Yuki Tsunoda. The car is quick. The driver is underrated. Going back to the well on a top 6 gainer. Let's roll.
I love it, man. I love it. Keep it rolling. I always thought you had to bet a ton of juice in F1, and the fact that you hit that gainer, you honestly gave me life, Elliot. You gave me life that even though last week, and I gotta say, like, shout out to the F1 betting community because it is large out there. I am learning because I got clowned in the comments last week for keep in mind, I had my Carlos Sainz bet that was so good they took it off Bet Rivers by the time Saturday came.
And you got really unlucky too because Sainz ended up with some issue with his car. There were 3 separate incidents on the first lap of the race, and Sainz's Williams ends up in the wall with the DNF. Yeah,
so last week I had the matchup. I had Sainz, and it was over a car I thought he could definitely beat there, and didn't happen, didn't shake out that way, but it is what it is. We're back in this week on some F1 fuckery, and it starts with the big dogs eat parlay of the week. I'm going Lando Norris -200 over Oscar Piastri. These are teammates. Ellie, I kind of called you for a little advice to say, is this the way I want to play Lando? Because I wanted to play Lando last week, and I just didn't want to drink that juice of him winning the overall race, really, that being, one of the big ways you could play him. And I think him over Oscar, it just makes sense here. Lando finished P2 last year in this race. Oscar finished P8. We also know what happened last week. Weather kind of gets in the middle of that too, but Lando just is the guy who's coming out and firing on all cylinders right now. 17-7 against Oscar last season head-to-head, winning 70.8% of the time. And that includes at least one race where some team orders bullshit came into play here. So give me that for leg 1 of the parlay, Lando Norris over his teammate Piastri. And then I'm also we're tying this back to NASCAR here, Kyle Larson, Xfinity Series top 3, -670. So some juiced odds, some heavy favorites. Combine those together. Yeah, you're getting -139 at Bet Rivers, 2.5 units down. Let's go, baby. Big dogs eat.
Big dogs eat parlay. I like it. You had the weekender with the beer a couple weeks ago. Had to find a nice little bulldog to throw in here too. And I love this is a parlay I can actually weigh in on, which is great. It almost feels like insider trading that they put matchups against teammates in F1 because regardless of what McLaren may try to say, regardless of them saying, oh, we've got the papaya rules this year, let's let them race. There was a time in that race, Oscar was running faster than Lando. The 81 was quicker than the 4. McLaren team radio, hey, Oscar, we're trying to save our stuff. We know the rain's coming. Let's slow it down a little bit. So regardless of what they say, it's clear Lando is still the big dog over at McLaren over Oscar. There'll be times this year they're both going to win multiple races. McLaren's clearly the fastest out there, but you're going to take the number 1 guy at a team over the number 2 guy every single day, and twice at 2 a.m. race day out there that we'll get on the East Coast.
Yeah, and like going to the Xfinity series side of this too, like Kyle Larson, what would it take for him not to finish top 3, him to get wrecked, right? Or like some crazy strategy thing happens.
Yeah. Well, if you put that at like a top 5, but I mean, God, the top 5 number must be minus 900.
Oh, it was minus 1. It was, I already checked out. It was minus 1,000. I couldn't go there.
Yeah.
It didn't help me at all.
That's the right parlay to make here. I think Larson definitely ends up, I'm going to say like top 7, I'm guaranteeing, unless there's a big issue. But you're right. Top 3, definitely more likely. The way that car is, it's going to be a surprise if anybody else wins that race.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, big dogs eat over here. Let us know your favorite F1 bets of the week down in the comments below. Also, let us know your favorite NASCAR bets as well. And I know there's still some IndyCar futures floating around out there. So if you're one of those degens, we want to hear from you as well. But Elliot, just been a blessed time here tonight with you, man. Shout out to our producer in the back end, Nicolette, for keeping everything running smoothly, and all your help and preparation for the show. And everyone who hangs out with us here in the live chat, everyone who comments afterwards as well. We love hearing everyone's opinions. I know we say a lot of dumb shit on this show, so keep us on our toes as well. Like we'll own any dumb take we have. So we appreciate it. And thanks to everyone over there in the IBT racing family as well. That's been a super fun Discord community to chat with everyone. Hopefully our exclusive weekly betting model has also helped you become a smarter NASCAR better so far this season. And Elliot, just a couple weeks away, probably towards our next giveaway. We haven't really set a firm time, but we'll definitely do something. I don't know what it will do it for, but we'll find a special occasion.
Yeah, we've got some stuff in the can. We got some Micah McDowell merch. We got Joey Logano signed polo. Lots of fun stuff going on over there. If you're not in the Discord, at least be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw this week. We much appreciate you guys sitting through. Nice little marathon show we had tonight, but we love every bit of it. We love doing it for you guys, and we're thankful for all the support that we get. Thank you guys so much for rolling down the back road with us tonight. Good luck on all your bets this weekend, and we'll see you again next week on the back road.